This is Norm Bauer. I'm with Travel Younger. I've been a traveling nomad now since 2019 with my wife, Kat. And since that time, we've visited 43 countries, met hundreds of people, a lot of really cool people, including this couple, which I'm going to introduce to you in just a moment. But there's a little bit of a backstory that you need to understand. We met these folks in Vietnam, immediately had a connection and set up some video calls. And maybe a month or two after we met, we had a video call and they said, "We have an opportunity to buy a hotel in Siem Reap, Cambodia." We went, "What?" So long story short, they had a lot of conversations back and forth with us, and they ended up buying a hotel in Siem Reap, Cambodia. So it just so happens that my wife and I had about a 7-week gap where we didn't have any place to go, and so that's how we got to Siem Reap, Cambodia. Interestingly enough, we have been here once before in 2020, and the town has grown so much. For anyone who has been to Siem Reap in the past, you need to come back and check it out and see how much it's grown, and make sure you stay at the place where these guys own, and they're going to tell us all about it. So, John Bacon, Heather Bacon, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
It just so happens that today is John's birthday, so we're going to give him a round of applause.
Happy birthday, John.
Yes, I'm 25 years
You're
old.
25 years old.
I mean 52.
Okay. So tell us a little bit of the backstory about where you guys come from, how you started traveling, and then how in the world you ever got to Cambodia in the first place.
Well, we're from Texas, and I think
It's its own country.
yeah, it was just its own country. And I think in earnest, when we started traveling during COVID, and it felt like we had the world to ourselves, we really got this idea that we've always had of moving abroad became so enticing.
Well, we knew that we always would, and it would
Yeah.
be after retirement.
Right.
And then during COVID, and you're in the world, and the world is just this quiet place. You're getting to actually feel each culture as it is. That just grabbed us, and we came back, and we were just like, there's absolutely no reason we shouldn't go right now.
Yeah.
And we're very grateful
You know,
for
the
that.
pandemic was a great catalyst for people, because if they were able to exit their country and if they were able to go somewhere else, then obviously that's great. Unfortunately, a lot of people were locked down,
Yeah.
and a lot of people who started before COVID were stuck, and a lot of people who started after COVID were still kind of like feeling their way out. So the market has totally changed in the world of travel. So when was the first time you came here to Cambodia? Was there any particular reason that you came here?
Last year.
3 months.
All right.
And we came here. I did so many Airbnb searches about the best place to go in Siem Reap, and this one popped up, Sarah Leah Home. And we came for 10 days, and we ended up staying in Siem 2 months, because it was just like, there was something magical that happened here. The energy that was here, there was really a calming of the soul that we found here.
It was really nice. And the food, you can want for not. You have all the food options here. And I'm talking Western food, Eastern food, that made it comfortable to be here.
And for those of you who are not familiar with Siem Reap, it's not necessarily a town that has been well known over the years. But what it is known for is the largest religious historical monument in the world, which is called Angkor Wat. And I remember when we were here 5 years ago, I said, who in the world wants to come to Siem Reap? Because if it wasn't for Angkor Wat, there's no reason to come. So now, 5 years later, it's like a whole 180-degree reversal, because now there's reasons to come to town aside from just the ruins. Because once you do the ruins for a couple different times, been there, done that, now what? Well, come to find out, there's a whole boatload worth of other things to do.
Yeah.
So you came here for 10 months, and for 2 months. And so when you left here, and you've been in Asia, by the way, for
Almost 3 years.
almost 3 years. And overall, you've enjoyed Asia.
Yeah.
Oh, we've absolutely loved Asia. I mean, everything gives you kind of what you need when you're doing it, but we,
Extensively India and Asia, having
Yeah.
traveled through a lot of different places now in 3 years, and this was just it was peaceful. The town is small. They say around 300,000 people. There's not a lot of traffic. The roads are nice. The air is nice compared to some of the larger cities in Southeast Asia that, you know.
And also, a lot of places in Asia have this thing called burning season, which is very oppressive. Now, it just so happens that we aren't in an area where there's a lot of burning. There is some, don't get me wrong, in Asia it's everywhere, but there's some places that you do not want to go during burning season, because the air quality is like unhealthy.
Yeah.
And if you don't know where Siem Reap is, we're a couple hours north of Phnom Penh, which is the capital. And what's cool about Cambodia is that there's only a small number of places to go to. And in the time that you've been here, tell us about other places that you've maybe visited in Cambodia, and how did you get there?
Well, so this is our Cambodia experiences. We did some Phnom Penh, but really it's been Siem Reap. And since we left Cambodia the first time,
to come through.
yeah,
We
yes.
drove the
So
whole-
after 2 months, we hopped over to Vietnam, bought a motorcycle, rode it 9 months, 7,000 kilometers all
Let's
around.
dig into that for a second. Okay,
Yeah.
so guys, a lot of people think of a fantasy of buying a motorcycle somewhere and tooling all around, and in certain countries, you just can't do that. You know, I can't buy a motorcycle in the EU because I'm not an EU resident, but in certain countries here in Asia, you can do that, including Vietnam. We love Vietnam, which is where we met these beautiful people, and so you took the step of buying a motorcycle in Vietnam, and did you have intentions of using it to cross borders? Because that's always another issue.
That was the whole purpose.
You can only cross 2 borders on a Vietnamese motorcycle, Laos and Cambodia.
Okay,
So, and you can't bring your own motorcycle into Vietnam.
okay.
So
Yeah, so if
no
you're coming
matter,
from anywhere else with a BMW bike and you want to travel,
You
you can't
cannot.
do that.
But you can bring a Vietnamese motorcycle into Cambodia, not a problem.
Yeah, into Laos, but you can't bring a Thai motorcycle into Vietnam. Or, yeah, so it's
This, by the way, is why you need to follow people like us, because there's certain nuances of border crossings and visas and exit border visa runs and various things like that that are incredibly complicated. But yet, when you talk to people like us, who kind of know and understand the rules are always changing, and the whims of the government are very, very unpredictable to the point of where what's in place now might not be in place again.
Yeah.
So you brought the motorcycle that you bought in Vietnam here, and that was a learning experience. And how long did it take you to do that, by the way? How many days?
So-
And granted, you stopped on the way,
Yeah.
and you stayed in different places,
Yeah.
and that's a whole other video.
Yeah.
I'd say
From Ho Chi Minh City to Siem Reap, it took us 3 days.
3 days.
Yeah.
3 full days. And we really got to see a lot of the countryside, which is still completely red sand and small villages. And we were able to see, so even though we haven't done a whole lot of traveling within Cambodia, those 3 days we got to see like the length of Cambodia
Yeah.
on a bike.
Southeast Asia is really an amazing footprint within the world. And as my wife and I have traveled all over, we've identified 2 places that we really love. One is Eastern Europe. Why? Because it's affordable, the temperature is well within reason, and Southeast Asia. And Southeast Asia, for this conversation, basically is Vietnam over here to the west, which would be Thailand, going south into Malaysia, going south into Indonesia. And of all the countries over here, the 2 least visited countries are this one and Laos.
Yeah.
And they're also the most undeveloped. They still have a lot of things to work on. But as I said earlier, what's impressed me is that the government here really understands that they need to bring tourism in. Because what else is going to feed the country other than exports and agriculture? And, that's always unpredictable.
Especially with the 8th wonder of the world, like they really need to, people need to see, this is
Angkor Wat.
Angkor Wat's an incredibly, 400 kilometers?
Yeah, 400 square
420.
kilometers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's massive. People think it's
I think there's
just
over 70 different ruins and monuments, of which probably a dozen and a half are really significant, and the others are fairly small.
That's a great reason to come. And then the reason why we love it here, you hit the nail on the head, it's undeveloped.
Yeah.
So we figure we're probably 20 years too late for Vietnam. It would have been, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing now.
Yeah.
But if it's on your radar, you need to go now
Yeah.
because it's only going to get more congested, more touristy, more. Thailand probably 30 years too late.
Yeah.
I think Siem Reap right now is a sweet spot.
And probably too early for Laos because
Yeah.
they,
Yes.
they don't quite have their
they
act
still
together.
need probably 5
Yeah.
more years, I bet,
Okay.
before it starts booming.
So
Yeah.
let's transition into how you became hoteliers. Hilton's in the progress. So you came here to Siem Reap. Did you come specifically to this hotel?
Yes.
And then when you were here the first time for the couple of months, you developed a relationship with the owner. That's how the conversation started.
Yes.
And I'm assuming he initiated the conversation
He
because he saw how
did.
much you loved it, right?
Yeah.
He did. It was a really good vibe. We were in harmony with this place, his space, and he said, "Hey, how about you guys buy this hotel?" And
That's so random.
yeah.
It is.
And
I
so-
think he was, but he'd kind of just been ready to go do something else. He'd been doing this one for
And
8
he
years.
built this place, right?
Yeah.
So he built this place. So this was his baby. This was his love. And obviously, we're going to be sharing videos within the course of this video interview
Right.
of how beautiful this place is. Because when they showed us this place, we went, "Oh my goodness gracious, that looks like heaven!" And it is heaven. It's like our own little oasis, a little bit outside of town, so you don't have a lot of the riffraff of dealing with the noise and what have you. All right, so the gentleman initiated the conversation about buying the hotel, and you probably said, "No way."
We said no way. We left America so we
Yeah.
could travel, and if we stop now,
Yeah.
then we're not being true to
Right.
why we left America.
Right.
And so, but then after about 6 months in Vietnam on the motorbike, I called him and left a message, and I said, "You know what? If the opportunity is still available, we're in."
So I have to ask, did you do this on your own, or did you have a conversation?
I think you said you were going to, and then you just did.
I think
And
we
it
talked
was-
about it on the bike a whole lot.
okay.
But-
Because once we started, after we were here, and then every hotel or Airbnb that we went to, we rated against here.
Got it. This was the benchmark.
This was the benchmark.
Oh, yeah.
And so then it just became really apparent that, gosh, we were so happy and
Yeah.
and
And we were ready to continue. You know, we were going back to India, and we were going to spend a year.
yeah. So
doing
at
traveling
6
out.
months we left, and then at 6 months after we've been gone, I sent him a message, and
It
I
took him a
probably
few
had
months.
like a couple beers, and then I had sent him a message, and I was like, "Hey,
Yeah.
listen, if it's available, we're still interested." Well, he didn't respond for like, because we did it on a different, we did it on WhatsApp, and he's a Telegram user,
Ah.
so he didn't respond for like 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe two months, and then all of a sudden we get this message.
Ah,
Perfect timing for him, perfect timing for us, because we had a plan and we were already on the, planning our buying a tuk-tuk and traveling India for
Right.
for a year.
full,
And
full
so
stop.
Yeah.
Full
yeah,
stop.
Full
it was
stop.
like it happened perfectly timing for both of us, and we were just like, okay, let's try.
Yeah,
Let's see what this looks like.
yeah. It was very stressful.
Oh, it was so.
And then we still had to
stressful.
go back to the United States. Our son got married in December, and so we were in between a big shift, and it took a lot of changing plans, but we'll see. We think it's been worth it, I feel like.
Well, a lot of people who are expats or want to become expats, so you leave your home country, in our case, the United States, and what's interesting is that as we've been here in Siem Reap, we have heard more American language talk than probably anywhere in Asia, which
Yes.
just blows me away. I mean, we met a lot of Americans and Aussies and Brits and other English-speaking countries in a lot of places, but here, not a day goes by you're not in a restaurant or coffee shop or walking down the street, and I run into a lot of Americans, a lot of Brits, a lot of Aussies, a lot of Kiwis, a lot of
French.
people from Western Europe and
Yes.
Central Europe who
Yeah.
speak good English. So
Yeah.
it's a very comfortable environment, and they've learned some Cambodian called Khmer. We've learned a few words in Khmer, but it's a very challenging language. So what's interesting is that now you're thinking about this process, which a lot of people may be thinking, how do I make money overseas? What do I do to keep me busy? There's the catch-22, because now you have a commitment. It's like you had a child that you can't leave, and now gulp.
I know.
So now you have your own baby, which when they came in, they wanted to fix it up and clean it up and make it their baby. And of course, there's the language barrier of dealing with help. who
There's
doesn't
no
necess-
Home Depot. down
There's
the
no
street.
Home Depot.
There's no
Leslie's Pool Supply.
It's just everything. Yeah.
This message brought to you by Leslie's Pool Supply.
Yeah, there aren't really a whole lot of cars either. I
No.
mean, there are cars, but it's not practical.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's just
So I remember the conversation that we had, more than one, where can I say you guys
Yes.
are freaking out?
We're
Oh,
freaking
yeah.
out. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Little meltdown.
You're freaking out,
Yeah.
and I said, look, I spent a lot of years in real estate, and I said, I understand this whole buyer's remorse thing. You're always second guessing.
Yeah.
Did I do the right thing?
Yeah.
You know, should I do this? Should I not do it? Because, you know, it's a commitment. Now, what's nice is that it's not a lifelong commitment. John just turned 52, right? And Heather's going to be coming up on.
She's 52.
She's 52.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We're
they're 52.
52.
They got a lot of years before their senior years and
Yeah.
before retirement and everything. So you could keep this for as long as you want until you decide you don't want to.
Right.
And the reality of it is that there's probably going to be someone else to come along. I mean, you basically make it known through your video channel that, hey, you know what? You want to buy our hotel in Siem Reap that we've been owning for X
Right.
number of years.
Yeah.
We speak English. We can tell you exactly what
Yeah.
to do and how to do and everything.
Yeah.
So tell us about Soraya Homes. How many rooms we got? And by the way, I want to add, so they're going to tell you about the rooms, but what's really trippy about this place is two things really sold me. One, the backyard is spectacular. 3 stories. On the top floor is like the kitchen and family room, which is, it's a huge expanse that you can do anything you want with. So how many rooms we got here?
So we have 11.
11 rooms.
Yes. They all have their own little kitchenette.
Nice.
We have fiber optic to the property.
Okay.
Every room has its own 100 megabyte connection.
Wi-Fi has been awesome since
Yes,
we've been here.
Yeah.
yes, it's the best that we could get
Yeah,
here, and
yeah.
it's not an issue.
So 11 rooms.
Yes.
We have one. We have several apartments that in the
Yeah.
property that are just bigger, and then regular rooms, and then even like a double room. So
So
it
you-
kind of fits something for everybody.
So you've only been here for a few months. Is there any profile that you've seen as far as the one thing I've seen in the 7 weeks we've been here is so many people come intending to stay for just a few days, and they extend their visit. They extend their visit. And right now it's the dry season. It's a little bit quiet, so they have that ability. When the busy tourist season comes, you
Yeah.
know what? Sorry guys, it's not available. So have you seen that a lot of people when they come here, do they have the intention of staying long term? Because when we travel, we like to stay 4 to 8 weeks. That's our sweet spot.
I think that most people who book with us start off with 2 to 5 days, and 4 out of 5 people extend
Wow.
4 weeks on end.
Wow.
We've been completely shocked by that, but that's exactly what happened to us.
Yeah.
Exactly what
Like
happened.
we came for 10 days and stayed 2 months.
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
this place grabs you. Sarah Leah home grabs you, but then Siem Reap itself
Yeah.
has such a calm, wonderful vibe about it that it grabs you
Yeah.
as well. And you just, especially if you've been traveling, you just need some place to just stop and breathe for a second. That's kind of normal. Normal, like they in Cambodia they have the U.S. dollar, and so that makes it easy to
To do
Yes, transactions.
That, by the way, is very unique. There's very, very, very few places that deal in U.S. dollars. They have their own currency called the real, but you can deal in either one. And what we did is we basically converted our U.S. dollars to reals because it's just too cumbersome to go back and forth. But these guys got it down. The merchants and the hotels and the restaurants, they understand the whole conversion, so
Yeah.
they do it just like we
Yeah, they do that.
So there's something calming about being from the West and then coming in, especially after spending so many years in Asia, and that we just came here and there's the good energy. We talked about that through Angkor Wat, but then there's the food and the fact that you can get the best hamburger we've ever had in our lives here, and then everything's in USD or real.
And the
then
really big one is how easy it is to navigate the visa and long-term stay.
yes, thank you for saying
So we've
that.
done that for ourselves, and then helped a lot of friends and guests
So
extend their visas or convert them into business visas.
So let's walk through that slowly but surely, because as my wife and I talked about coming back, initially when you come to the airport, which is probably how you're going to get here, you get a visa on demand, pure and simple, 30 days, and then you have 30 days to decide what you want to do. So tell us about the options. What we did is we extended it for 30 days simply because that's all we needed, but you can extend it for 6 months or 12.
yeah.
So
They
yes,
make it easy.
regular tourist visa, you can only, so that's what we came in on,
Yeah,
and what you guys came in
Right.
on, a regular tourist visa.
right. 35 US dollars.
$35 US for 30 days, and you can extend it for
30 days. That's
30
it.
days. And then you have to be out.
Right.
That's what happened to us last time. Our 2 months ran out, we gotta go,
Right.
let's go.
Right.
If
And
you-
by the way, you can do visa runs here.
Yeah.
You can exit to Thailand, come back the same
Or
day or the
Vietnam.
next day, or Vietnam or any
Wow.
other country. You can take a bus or you can take a flight. So it's not like a lot of countries where you have to exit for a certain number of days.
Sure.
You can just basically boom, boom, and now you come back.
Yeah, that's what most people do because
Yeah.
they don't realize, oh, this is a place that I'm interested in staying for.
Right.
Or if it is, when you do your visa run, the next visa run, you come in on a business visa.
Business visa.
And a business visa is renewable for a year.
Wow. And how much about does that cost?
10
Okay.
to 320.
186 months. Okay.
180 is 6 months.
Okay.
And it's multiple entry.
Okay.
So now you don't ever have to leave Cambodia if you don't want.
Right.
If you do, you're
Right.
not going to have to pay to get back in.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is the
And
difference.
it allows you to open up a bank account.
Oh,
And it
that's
allows you to start a
very sig-
business.
Oh, that's very significant.
Yes.
Opening a bank account is something you can hardly ever do
Yeah.
unless you go through all kinds of stuff in different countries.
And ABA Pay is such, I mean, like everybody has, ABA is the big bank,
Yeah.
it's just like the,
So banking is extremely advanced
Nice.
in Cambodia due
Yeah,
to
it is.
COVID.
Right.
Contactless payments. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
get this.
Credit card uses everywhere.
Yes.
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 these
It
credit cards
just.
are going.
Yes. It's been pretty cool
Yeah.
to have.
We'll say that one of the sweet spots too for us was that we looked at living in Indonesia and we looked at tourist visas, I mean, not, or long-term visas there, but because we're not retirement age, and like Indonesia's always changing their mind, like
They are.
they are always,
Yeah.
and you never feel safe.
Yeah.
And you could spend all this money, and I think at one point it was like $800 a person for us to get a year visa, and which was just crazy. But Vietnam, you can't do that. You have to do like 3 months in country, and then you have to leave. 3 months in country, you have to leave. 3 months in country, you have to leave. India is the only place that we know that makes it just as easy, but they still don't, because India, you can get a 10-year visa for like $100.
Wow.
But you still have to leave every 6 months.
Yeah,
Right.
so-
But, and so Cambodia just is very welcoming, and just come, and they make it very inexpensive, and the process to get a visa, long-term visa, was just, so you just hand over your passport and they handle everything for you. Like, it's just easy.
Yeah, that's a huge incentive. As I said, we've been to 43 countries since we left in 2019, and we have looked into residency, however you define it, in several different countries. And some are more easy than others, and Vietnam is fairly reasonable. Albania is very reasonable, but the process here is almost insanely reasonable, which is kind of cool, because it's almost like the government says, all right, we're not going to put all these pitfalls in front of you. We want you to come. You still got to jump through some hoops,
Right.
but we're going to help you get over those hoops, as
Right.
opposed to other countries that say, oh no, you've got to dot this I and cross this T, and we're going to make it as difficult as possible. Here, everything is very user-friendly. It's a very, it's a Buddhist country, and so there's a sense of spirituality. As a matter of fact, tell us what's next door to us.
Our neighbors, a monastery.
We have a monastery next door, guys. So basically, for anyone who wants a place to meditate or just have some moments of
Yes.
silence, you can walk 5 minutes and go right to the monastery, and you can chill out. And you know, there's monks everywhere walking along in their saffron covered clothing and everything, and right across
you
the
can hear them
street.
from the windows.
Yeah,
Just have
yeah.
your window open and you can hear them chanting.
You can
in
hear
the
them
morning.
chanting. Yeah, yeah.
It's wonderful.
So far, you know, when my wife and I visited Asia in 2020, the timing was not good because COVID was just happening and it impeded some of our travel, and I was not enthused about coming back to Asia. However, my wife was, and so we came back 17 months ago, and we're leaving next week for Europe, but we will definitely be returning. And Cambodia was a pleasant surprise, and mostly because of Siem Reap, and especially
Yes.
because of you two. Because again, this was one of the most unusual stays that we had, because as opposed to staying in a homestay where you don't know anyone and everything is impersonal, here, these two, Heather and John, create a sense of community. And it's like when someone gets here, they are on a joint WhatsApp group chat. Hey, say hello to Norm and Kat. They just got here. Everyone says hello, Norm and Kat. And next thing you know, you're at the pool. You're striking up a conversation, and it's like before you know it, you made friends. It's like a grown-up version of a hostel.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
it's
a
like a lot of
grown-up version.
hostels. You know, the young people, we stayed in a few, but we don't really like to do it.
Yeah.
But with the young people, they're very sociable, and they drink and they party and they dance. I mean, here, it's more like an adult version of a hostel where you can just dive into a friendship and create a new friendship that you can theoretically have forever. And that's what we've
Yeah.
done over the years, and you have as well. You have friends all over the world, don't you?
Yes. everywhere, and everybody comes at different times. Everybody's just been so excited that we've done this, even though we get terrified all the time.
Yeah. So what haven't we talked about either your travels, your life, or the process of buying this that maybe you would like everyone else to know?
I think so. It sounds like if we're buying a hotel that we have like all this money, and that's not the case at all. Like we are on a budget, like most travelers that are long term living outside of the states. Everybody's on a budget, so we cannot own land in Cambodia. We are not Cambodian residents, but we can lease the property from the landowner for 20 years or 30 years or however many years you'd like. And so that's the route that we took. So it's not like we put down this massive chunk of money and it was not like that at all, because it's just kind of like, it's just a lease. We've just gone in and leased it.
Right.
We bought the lease.
We bought the lease.
So the commitment factor, and again, that's something to consider, guys, because people leave and become expats with various budgets. You know, what's budget travel to some is extravagant to others, and vice versa. My wife and I are budget travelers, but we want for nothing. We live on a very modest income, and that's what's nice about Southeast Asia and Cambodia is that there's nothing that you're lacking. You're
Right.
getting an awesome lodging, you're getting awesome transportation. We rented a scooter because that is the de facto standard in Asia, and especially here. We rented a scooter for $100 a month. Traffic, by the way, is very chill. You know, for people who see videos of Saigon, Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam,
Yeah,
and they're like,
it's
oh
not
my
like that.
God, there's no way I'm going to drive in that chaos. But
Yeah.
here, the people are ridiculously courteous and respectful of each other. It's like there's no running from one light to the next to try to outdo everyone else. Everyone is just kind of like tooling along. You got tuk-tuks, by the way. For those of you who aren't scooter riders, and you use Grab, which is like the overseas version of Uber, you basically dial into Grab and you get a tuk-tuk, which is a little three-wheeled motorcycle that's covered, and you go into town for $2.
Yeah.
$2 to take a ride into town. So you don't have to worry about having your own scooter. You don't
No.
need a car. It would be insane to even have a car here. Why do you want one?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't even
They're
know.
hard to park.
Yeah,
Hard to
that-
park.
yeah,
It's hard to find
park,
parking.
that's for sure, for sure.
We have a motorcycle, and that makes it fun. Scooters are fun.
Absolutely.
You know, there are e-bikes. There's bikes.
Yeah.
There's just you don't.
There's
you
every
don't
kind
need
of
to-
transportation.
Yeah,
You keep hitting it on the head, is that Cambodia just Siem Reap makes it easy.
yeah.
It doesn't matter what kind of traveler you are, it truly is just easy to be here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. If you find a place that has a good internet, it's a digital nomad's paradise.
Yeah.
You know, for
Yeah,
at
it's
least,
very true.
At least 2 months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very true. Another thing that we like about it here is a lot of places we go to, one of the things we look for is that accessibility to amenities. Now, in this case, something like a gym, because I find my gym, grocery stores, different things like that. And what's cool about this place is that there's several grocery stores in town. Prices are reasonable. It's a little pricey for U.S. or overseas imported products, but that's the case everywhere in the world. But they actually have a store, check this out, that's like their version of Costco, called Macro.
Yeah.
And we walked into that place and we got, oh my goodness gracious, look at this. And so for people who are going to be here for a long time, they need, quantity of different things and everything. We went out there to buy a fan and a couple of different odds and ends and everything. So what's nice is that it's got American or more civilized things available without the price of paying
Yeah.
civilized U.S. dollars.
Yeah. And you said that this earlier, is that in all of Asia, in all of our travels throughout Asia, we are always the only Americans. Like there might be a one-off, like when we met y'all.
Yeah.
But y'all are probably the only Americans that we met when we met in Hoi An.
Yeah.
But everywhere that we've been, we're always the only Americans. But you come to Siem Reap, and there's just no explanation why there's so many
Yeah. I don't know.
Americans here.
That's not the draw for us. at
No,
all.
100%. We don't
It's just,
normally want to meet Americans.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it has been nice. We have friends who we also met traveling and who also stayed here
Right.
while we were here, and
Yeah.
they now live here full time.
Yeah.
They've been here for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah.
And
No, I think Siem Reap.
you can get barbecue, you can get Mexican, you can get some of the
Mexican
best
food.
Mexican,
tacos.
yeah, you can get several Mexican
And
choices.
at the
there.
grocery store, you
Yeah.
can buy cheese.
You can buy cheese.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
can't do that
yeah.
in Asia.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting is that it's a very comfortable country. And a lot of people, when they travel, there's always stress. And the two things that we always bring to people's attention is that you have to be patient, you have to be flexible, you know, you have to just learn to go with the flow, because if you are attached to the outcomes of things, it's just going to do nothing but cause you grief. So sometimes you just need to relax. And so what's nice about Cambodia in general and Siem Reap is that it's a very low-key place.
Yeah.
And again, for people who just want to hang out for a couple of months, use this as a base. What's nice is that you can use Soraya Homes as a base and go to Bangkok and go to Vietnam. They've got a really great international airport, by the way. It's only less than 2 years old. And so you can get flights into Siem Reap from anywhere. And so it's accessible, it's affordable, it's healthy living, beautiful, amazing people, great food. I mean, I can't say enough about what Siem Reap is.
I think most people, when they think Cambodia, they think like super third world country.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's risen above that.
Yeah,
It's not.
you know, there's a lot of misconceptions about places in the world, about being more run down, more backwards, more this, more that. And a lot of people, when they think about Southeast Asia, you know, for anyone of a certain age, or if they study history, they think back to the war, the
Yeah.
U.S. war 50 years ago, 60 years ago now. And they think about all the turmoil that happened. And mind you, there is evidence of those atrocities. There is evidence. And so for anyone who's into history, anyone who's into really looking at how a culture has survived amazing obstacles, it's just really heartwarming to see how the people have risen above all what they went through 50 years ago, and now they're trying to improve it, especially for the younger generation. These people here are so family oriented that they spend time with their kids, and the people are just beautiful.
Community above all else.
So we're going to put some in the show notes. We're going to put their website, and again, your YouTube channel is called what?
Aiku.
Eyecool. EYECOOL.com. And they have been doing videos for how long?
3 years.
All right, so
3 years.
you've been doing videos for 3 years, and so if you've been wondering what the heck happened to Eyecool, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Let's just say
We haven't done a video
they were a
in 3
little
months.
bit busy,
We
you know,
haven't had-
buying a hotel. you
We hadn't
know.
had a video in 3 months,
Yeah.
and this is why.
Yeah.
Because this is insane.
All right, so you're getting a pass.
Yes.
You're getting a pass. It wasn't because you weren't dropping the channel.
No,
It wasn't because
no.
you lost interest. It was simply because of the fact you got other priorities.
We
And
had to put all in.
that's what this life is it's about
Yeah,
priorities.
it was. We needed to slow down
Yes.
in order to speed up.
Yes.
And
I
that was
like
my
that.
mantra, because she was having a hard time with stopping to travel. And
Yeah.
I said, listen, even if we don't do this, we're stopping for 6 months.
Yeah.
We need to slow
Yeah,
down,
yeah.
catch up and speed
Yeah.
up.
You know, sometimes we as people have this sense of urgency and we put way too much pressure on ourselves. And that's one thing that we've kind of learned over the years, my wife and I, over travel, is that you have to travel, you have to follow the flow of the universe, because you might say, I have to be in a certain place at a certain time, and you know what? The stars might not necessarily align. So sometimes you have to, you know, go a little bit later, or maybe go sooner. You never know what's going to happen.
Right.
So Heather, John, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. And for those of you who are thinking about going someplace unique, someplace different that maybe everyone doesn't go, because the problem with a lot of tourist destinations in the world is they're becoming over touristy because everyone's jumping on that bandwagon. This is a place that's very much under the radar, especially for people who are looking for a long-term stay.
Yeah.
You know, you can
Sarah Leah home.
Sarah Leah home, baby. Yeah, you can come here to Siem Reap. You can stay here with these guys, and you can chill for 6 months. You can chill for a year. You can do as long as or short a period as you want, and you can truly get the benefits of being a home owner or having a home without having the drawback of home maintenance and having to take care of stuff. That's what you guys get to do.
Unless
Yay,
you own it. Unless you own
Yay,
it, and then
you.
you own 11 houses.
That's why I don't own any real estate anymore, because I don't want to do that.
That's smart.
This is Norm Bauer with Travel Younger. Thanks for joining us, and hope to see you again.